Hey everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about Absolution by Jeff Vandermeer. If anyone still remember on Annihilation video, I mentioned that the author released a prequel to the Southern Reed trilogy, which is how I got a new print from the series. This is that prequel. It's written 10 years after the original trilogy has ended, and it did follow a habit of prequel that nobody asked for, and I wish this did not exist, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. As a quick reminder, the Southern League is a sub-organization that belongs to Central, a mysterious government organization that is basically the CIA version of this series, an organization that often in its history interferes with other countries for its own benefit. Southern League itself is just one of its many projects that was formed after Area X took over a small city in a forgotten coast somewhere. And Absolution started 30 years before Area X was formed. We follow old Jim, one of the agents of Central who is reading a dusty file about a science expedition that was made in a place called the Dead Town. The file said that many biologists came disturbing the peace of the town, and the biologist is of course a bit of a reference to the main character of Annihilation. And already there are a few things that feels off about this expedition. The people of that town feels like they were seeing something inhuman in the biologists that came there. Maybe it's the paranoia from this outsider combined with the suits they came in that feels alien. But there were rumors like a biologist who leaped into the air to catch a dragonfly unharmed using their teeth. And just like they themselves to the town was invasive, one of their experiments was to release 4 alligators to the water of the dead town, introducing an invasive species that are not supposed to be there. It was not long until weird events started happening to the biologists. One of them, known as the Mother because she usually handles taking samples in the mud, found an eerie rabbit that is crunching and eating a crab. She also said that the rabbit is wearing a camera on his neck. Then another biologist played the piano and the piano echoed, but much later after she's done playing it. One of the townsfolk named Manboy Slim claims to have pranked them, but there's no proof of him ever doing so or know how to carry and then play a piano stealthily near them without anyone seeing him. Then their generator, that is the only source of electricity for their expedition, also one day just died without any sign of wear or damage. They fixed it just in time for a storm to approach them, making most of the store in the city to close. Other stranger things started happening as the storm is approaching. Bats and birds seem to confuse themselves with each other as they are fleeing. Then the white rabbit comes out in hordes in the empty city. And with the arrival of the rabbits, we came to the most stretched out part. So far, every part of the story felt like it's taking so long, but this one is long and descriptive, with every event that can be described in a word will take hundreds of words to go through. But essentially, they killed the rabbit, took the camera, which seems like it shows some very private picture of the two team leaders of the biologists. They eventually shoot the rabbit with flamethrower because it feels like their arrival broke down a lot of the biologists' equipment, including their surveillance cameras. And the surviving rabbit gruesomely started eating the charred rabbit that was burned during the process, further traumatizing the biologists. But they are planning to continue burning even as a mysterious figure appears and tries to stop them. They can't see him because the rain makes him feel ethereal. He even managed to stop and cause the first wave of biologists to fall to their knees. But the biologists are determined to burn everything down. Their clash eventually leads to 2 biologists to die out of fear and 4 people missing. The 2 team leaders, the medic and the mother. And their generator also broke again, this time because someone sabotaged it. Old Jim, reading all the biologist's journal from the future, thinks that the person sabotaging the equipment is the Rogue, an antisocial from that town that usually sat alone in the bar. No reason why he thinks that way except of the author telling us so. The rest of the biologists can only wait for rescue to arrive from Central, but when Central got there, everyone is already dead from some reason. The only survivors they found was the medic that they rescued in the border and the 2 team leaders who are hiding in a motel in another city. The mother was never found and the dead town are back to being the dead town. Time then moved to 18 months before Area X. Ojim has been an agent for Central for so long, and during that time, he had a daughter he named Eleanor Cassandra Kavanaugh, who later on called herself Just Cass. Because of his work in Central, there's not a lot he can share with her, and that's even if he had the time to meet her since he was busy going from one mission to another. And when Cass grew up, she eventually decided to ghost him. She's gone even when she tried to find her with all that he had learned from being an agent of Central. And because of this, he started unraveling, coping with the loss with alcohol, being drunk and belligerent with only enough self-control to not get into a fight that might lead him to kill someone. He stayed like that until Jack Severe's daughter, Jackie, who in the future will become Control's mother, came to him to give him his next mission, go to the Forgotten Coast and become a resident there. It's weird that Old Jim was only introduced now and the book opened with the Dead City files instead, because we care less about the file since we don't know anyone in that file we're reading. It also reminds me of the author's habit of lore dumping with the worst exposition placement possible. Then, before he was sent to the Forgotten Coast, old Jim needed to sober up and clean the alcohol from his system. It was during this time that he was given the file we've gone through at the start of the book. Then, a few months after he cleaned up, Jack's Severance controlled grandfather started approaching him. It was here that Jack told him that Science and Science Brigade that is disturbing the lighthouse keeper in the previous book was another subgroup from Central. He said there are reasons why some people in Central felt an existential threat in the Forgotten Coast. That's why all the experiment in the Dead Town was done. The biologists, the alligator, even the Science and Science Brigades. A ton of other things is still obnoxiously hidden from Old Jim and from us the reader, but it was finally decided that Old Jim was to be dropped in the Forgotten Coast as the new owner of the bar there. The bar where the Rogue and Manboy Slim used to hang out. But before he was sent there, in another forced reference to the copy that Area X made, Central sent a woman who looked and acted like she was Old Jim's daughter to brief him about the Science and Science Brigade. It's not just a forced reference, it's also a forced scene that is only there for additional shock factor for no reason at all. It didn't really add anything to the story or character, and narratively don't make sense since he was already about to go to the Forgotten Coast. And as with most scenes so far in the book, it went on for far too long. A lot of Central since the previous book has always been filled with so much plot convenience, and that did not change in this book that was written a decade after the last one. And unfortunately, Central or Jack and Jackie Severance unnecessary trial to Old Jim and fake cast did not end just there. There will be more, a lot more. The author tried really hard to convince us that there is a reason for it, but Flat Earthers are making much more sense compared to what Central are doing to Old Jim. And in the mission to Forgotten Coast to kill the Rogues, it doesn't make much sense for the two of them to start with a hostile relation except for drama for the sake of drama. They do finally read more about the SNSP Brigade, especially about Suzanne and his half-brother Henry, who is a psychopath since he was a child and have tortured and killed animals, tried and failed to burn his gardener and got someone's eye in a fight. But his rich father saves him every time, and now here he is working for Central. They also eventually went to the bar in Forgotten Coast, quickly setting themselves and getting closer to the people there, except for maybe Manboy Slim who is still skeptical to him, even met and befriend Gloria, the psychologist as a child. Old Jim finally found some clue about where the mother is after threatening Manboy Slim. The mother eventually called him and she gave him more information about the roads and the cameras and the alligator named Tyrant that became the road's pet, but the mother has obviously gone mad at this point. Then after that the SNSP duo did meet him, but nothing much happens then. That is until one day, Old Jim got ambushed by the Rogue at the back of the bar. He passed out, but thankfully Cass was there to help him. She shot at the figure in the chest twice until it escaped. She cleaned up the site then put Old Jim to safety. And when they checked the blood splatter from her shot, it was strangely alligator's blood, not human blood. After that, the story went all over the place. Old Jim often just lost his memory and wake up in other places or just burst out crying from memories. But none of it felt real in the story because of how awful it was being told. There are some parts of the story that is trying to over-explain how hypnotism in the first trilogy got more and more absurd, trying to connect the hypnotism with the supernatural element of the story, and it is failing so hard it is embarrassing to read. When he got captured again, he found out that the one who have been hypnotizing him is Jack, his old friend, which makes no sense since this is not even Jack's mission, it's her daughter's mission, and Jim conveniently managed to get away. But even when he got away, Cass got summoned back by Central. No worries though, she conveniently has so much information that she have never shared before about the Rogue's whereabouts, but we are still more than 100 pages away from the end, so of course Henry from SNSP, the nerd, easily ambushes Old Jim. I think this is the 10th time character was ambushed in the series. There's such a distinct lack of imagination and creativity on the character interaction that the book becomes frustrating to read. And as if trying to prove how uncreative the story is, Old Jim conveniently got away after being captured by Henry and his accomplice. Because that's the whole book. Old Jim got into trouble, oh never mind, it's solved. Oh wait, he immediately got into another trouble, oh never mind, it's already solved. Rinse and repeat. Until finally, Jim met the Rogue, who basically is a walking talking Area X. Then the book closed following Laurie, who like most villains in the series are some of the worst written character because every human villain in the book so far has been the same guy. Henry, Jack, Laurie, they're just bad guy A, B, C, and they're very interchangeable. This book is the worst in terms of creativity. There's really no justification for this book existing, let alone being more than 400 pages long. It's not a slow burn, it's just really slow and nothing is burning. The author did not cook despite the length of the book. This is just another book that is trying to explain Area X, which we don't need at all because the more the author is trying to explain Area X, the more uninteresting Area X becomes. Nothing in the world of this book makes sense, and if nothing makes sense, then Area X is just one of the things that don't make sense. There's nothing special about it. It doesn't help that his explanation and the way he explains suck. This is not just the worst book of the year, this is one of the worst books I've ever read. I give this a 0. It's a waste of my time. What do you think? Let me know if I miss anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.